Welcome to the show. I'm Danella, and here's what's happening now. Another eventful week. Literally, so much happened this week. It's like, where do we start? First, we're going to do a rest in peace to Stan Lee. Man, Marvel Comics' own writer. Just a very, very, very talented writer. I mean, he created some of the most memorable superheroes that we have, right? And so a lot of people feel a loss with his passing. So rest in peace to Stan Lee. Also in the news, it's been wild. We'll talk about weather first. East Coast dealing with first snowstorms pretty much along the East Coast and ice. Yeah, ice, not good. And then we'll head over to the West Coast where they are still dealing with fires. Two separate fires there. North of Sacramento is the Camp Fire, and then the Woosley Fire near Los Angeles. So far, at least 59 people are dead, and at least 130 are still unaccounted for. The Camp Fire has destroyed nearly 9,000 homes and forced at least 52,000 people to evacuate. And the Woosley Fire has destroyed nearly 500 homes. And here's what they're still dealing with. They're saying they're worried about mudslides because of rain. They're also dealing with, at the Camp Fire, one of the shelters there, they're dealing with the norovirus outbreak. Oh, could you imagine having to go through that the virus is active at one of the shelters? In addition, they're also dealing with hazardous air pollution. And on the ground there, people are saying that it looks like Armageddon. Now, I realized this week, I was like, wow, I've been doing this podcast for about a year. And I remember easily last year, I was on this podcast talking about folks in California dealing with the worst fire that they've ever seen. And now they're saying that these two fires, that it looks like Armageddon, again, the worst that they've ever seen. Now is not a time to figure out pointing fingers at what's to blame, but, they're saying that now is the time to just band together to get through this period. So far, I know that at least $1 million has been raised. There's still time for you to donate if your heart wants to and your pockets allow you to. You can log on to www.unitedwayla.org. And there you can make a donation to the Fire Relief Fund. Now, the other big news this week, we're going to head out to Illinois, where there, Jamel Robinson killed while literally doing his job. Our nation is really at an uproar dealing with this. It came out this week also that the officer who shot Jamel was a white officer. And here's some of the shocking facts. So let's talk about Jamel, 26 years old, on the job. He was detaining an active shooter suspect when he was shot and killed. People in the bar, he was a security guard in a bar. Apparently, some men were asked to leave. One of those men came back and opened fire. Reports are saying that several people were shot, I believe 3, including a bartender, that Jamel, a hero, was able to subdue this suspect, get this suspect on the ground, had his knee on the suspect's neck, holding, a gun pointed at him. Police officers walk in, and the bar goers are saying that he had on a vest that said security. That's what they're saying. Police are saying otherwise. No, that's not true. But, witnesses are saying he had on a vest, and even in the bar, they're yelling, he's security. And one report said that the police officer held the gun and said, get on and then fired the shot on the word ground. That didn't even get the whole phrase out, get on the ground. Jamel also, a father, They said that he was even working, picking up an extra shift because of Christmas. He wanted to raise more money for his 9-month-old son, and that Jamel and his son's mother were expecting a new child, and this poor mother, pregnant and to lose her children's father. This is sad across the board. His mother is filing a lawsuit, as she should. Ah, man, I mean, so much hate in our country, and that's going to lead us to political pop. And here is your political pop. The FBI this week released a report saying that hate crimes have risen 17% under the Trump administration. That is not a surprise to any of us. We watch the news. We see so many reports of hate crimes against race, against religion, against sexual orientation. Well, the FBI says that this 17% spike over 2016 totals represent the first consecutive 3-year annual increase, and it's the largest single-year increase since 2001. Remember, 2001 was the 9/11 attacks. Remember that many hate crimes go unreported to the FBI. So more than 7,000 in the year of 2017. It's sad, but if you preach hate, it's not shocking to see that the world responds with hate. I'm DanellaNOW, and that was your political pop. Man, I swear, I've talked, I don't know what's happening in your friends' circles, but in my friends' circles, people are reaching out, asking, how is everything? Are you okay? You know, and they're just saying this because they're seeing so much negativity in the world. So in our last podcast, I was just really exploring that idea about, how people say like, oh, it's the end of days. And you would hear that all the time. And I'm starting to look around and think, this does seem like they might be onto something. And not saying that everything is ending, but like we're definitely in peril. And, my hope is that the end is in the sense of the end of the way things have been and maybe progressing to hopefully a new world of light. That's my hope. But with that, we're going to go to In Our World because I'm going to talk about some evolution that I have witnessed. And I ask you, because I'm seeing these animals evolve. Are you evolving? That's what's going to come up in a bit. So here's what we're talking about with evolution. Like literally everybody's watching this rat situation in New York, right? And across the world, how many videos have you seen recently where rats are attacking cats, right? It's disgusting, but it's prevalent and it's really happening. I saw one video where there is a deli and there's a cat in the deli because a lot of delis will have cats in them, right? And this rat at nighttime, but there's people shopping in this deli. This rat is chasing the cat. So the rat is unafraid of people shopping inside of the deli, right? Unafraid of the cat and is attacking this cat back and forth as people walk by on the street. No fear. That's evolution. I'm telling you. And the rats are like, yo, I think I could take this cat. All I got to do is intimidate this cat. And then I could probably, in the best case scenario, eat the cat. Worst case scenario, scare it off. I win, win. Attack the cat, right? So then that which made me think of evolution. Then the other thing, I was just talking to a friend of mine about the deer in the area in which I live. Now, y'all know, if you live with trees and you happen to have deer in your area, the deer are becoming gangsters. And what set it off, I've been noticing, it set it off for me. Maybe the last time my son and I were out running, because I just realized, especially, weather permitting, he has so much energy. And when he wakes up from his nap, I'm like, even if he's been busy all day, he wakes up like, I'm ready to go. So now I've just taken this cat running, like for real. We together, we running. He knows on the right, get on the right so people could pass. you know. And I'm like, okay, if we got to run to the left, we're on the left, we're on the left. And he runs right behind mommy. And it's so funny because people are like cheering us on. And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. Well, we're running in the woods. And what I've noticed over the years, because I always like to hike and things like that and just be in nature. When I say hike again, remember, I'm not talking about rock climbing because some of you extreme people, that's what you guys are doing. I'm not doing that. Rappelling from cliffs. I'm not doing that. But just, path hiking. So anyway, this last time we're jogging, and it is always around sunset, and so the path that we're on in the park starts to take a turn. So my son is walking backwards because we have to slow down. My husband, he's running with us. Running is, he'll jog and then he has to walk. So we'll run ahead, and sometimes we'll run ahead, wait for him to catch up. And so my son's like, turns around, where's daddy? So I say, oh, let's wait for daddy. So my son is walking backwards, and because the path is turning, he's technically going straight, but he's unaware that the path is starting to turn. And so I look at him, and then I'm looking back like, Kyle, come on. When I turn back around, I notice, because deers are the color of the land. Like, they're brown, but especially in fall, that brown creates like camouflage, and like, oh, snap. And it's a family of deers. And when I tell you, no deer is afraid, no deer is afraid. So even though we, have, making noise, the deer are like, you gonna walk into me, little dude? And so I'm looking, and he's like feet away, literally. Like, he could have turned around, leaned forward, and touched this deer. And we're talking about does, not bucks. Remember, doe, a deer, a female deer? Yeah. However, this doe got mad baby deers. I can't remember what the baby, fawns, right? So yeah, I mean, it's not that many, just a few, but it's a young family. And if a mom is with her babies, that can spell danger. So anyway, the deer is, just on the path. So there's a clear path, there's grass, and the deer literally is like, what you gonna do? Looking at us. So I am like, KJ, don't move. He stops, and I go, walk toward mommy. Still, the deer aren't tripping. They're not afraid or nothing. And it hits me because we're unarmed. And in our area, we're not really killing the deer. I don't think they should be murdered. But, in our area, there's also not any natural predators rampant. Like, there's no mountain lions kicking it to eat the deer. And so, yes, every night, when you're driving at night, you got to really look out for these deer. But it just made me start thinking, like, and I'm sure in your areas, I'm not sure what wildlife is there, but think about like how a lot of stuff is becoming more gangster, even the squirrels. Because now, you remember how squirrels used to run? And I know places in New York, people could feed the squirrels like crumbs, like of bread, and the squirrels would come and eat it out your hand. And that was the first time I had seen anything like that. And I was like, is this some New York stuff? Because they're not eating it like this in the South. But I'm starting to see like, they're not running. They're like, what's up? We got it. So evolution is happening. And my question to you is, what are you doing to evolve? That's my question. You don't have to, but things are happening. You know it. Things are happening. And my question to you is, where do you want to go in this new world that's shaping up? Because I think somebody needs to ask you. If you haven't asked yourself, I'm asking you. Think about it and start really, really, really being actively the change you want to see, being actively the person that you believe you are in the world. Because, we're at that point, guys. It's time. I'm laughing because it's a nervous laughter. But yes, we are definitely at that point where we have to really start being who we really are and really fighting for what we believe in, whatever that may mean. And knowing that, I feel like in my spirit of spirits, it feels like there is an attack on love. That's what I feel like. And so if the feeling that I have is right, then there's going to be so many people things, situations that are going to try to take away love from your life personally, your relationship, even your just mental stability of happiness, your work life happiness. So we're going to each have to be very diligent about who we are, what we represent, and what we believe. Because it just feels like an attack on love. That's what I really, really feel. So if you are a lover of love, I love love. I do. I'm somebody who believes you should fall in love as much as your heart allows, in the sense of like, if you know how you date, and a lot of times you just date to date. I'm like, open up that heart, let love in. Let love in and experience what love feels like, as opposed to protecting yourself. I know it's hard. But yeah, I'm a lover of love, and I love people that feel love and experience love. So I am a fighter for love, and it is an attack against us. So what you gonna do? Basically, all you are responsible for is yourself. So before I wrap up the show, I have to give a shout out to a friend of mine, Aman. He is a jeweler as well as a talented artist. So, yeah, he hit me up he was one of the wellness check cats. It was random, but he was just like, hey, how's everything going? And one of the things that he had talked to me about, and I'll share it with you, is that during this time, how important it is to really get your ego in check and to, put that ego down. And so when he was talking to me about it, he was like, if you're ever in a situation where he was just saying for people that feel depressed, he was saying that that's also ego rooted, and not people that are clinically mentally depressed. Okay. But if you're somebody that doesn't have a chemical imbalance, but feeling that, and he was just saying how important it is to focus from a place of gratitude as opposed to a place of ego. Meaning you might say, this house isn't the house that I want to live in, right? That's the ego. The gratitude is, I'm grateful that I have shelter, right? Or, you might say, I want to be a millionaire. But what if you're a thousandaire? Being grateful, I'm a thousandaire. Or being grateful, I'm a hundredaire. Or being grateful, I have this meal. So anyway, when he talked about that, I was like, man, that's good. Because I never think about how the ego plays in a lot of the misery that we have and a lot of the anxiety that we feel on earth, as we're going through our day. So as next week is Thanksgiving, I'm going to throw this out there for you guys, right? And that is, as you are embarking on a Friendsgiving or even a Thanksgiving, because I know for my family, man, back in the day, Thanksgiving was tough in the Seedlock household. It was tough. Yeah, man, I remember being 21, like, yes, I'm going to start bringing in Chardonnay to this. Thankfully, we've all evolved and have come to a place where we can really enjoy each other and it not be like a mudslinging contest or arguments, but like really fellowship and have fun, for the entire day. So I just want to say, if that's not what your family does, and it is a time where, people bring up bad things that other family members do, and it's just smack talking and people get drunk and fight. I don't know what happens. I'm just saying, none of it surprises me. So if that is what you are preparing for, and it's tough, and you might be somebody that throws in a Friendsgiving just so you can get to the Thanksgiving. You're like, hey, friends, let's meet on Wednesday and really fellowship so I can deal with these cats. So if that is you, here's some advice, okay? The advice is focus from a place of gratitude. And the other advice is fill up on love and light before you fill up on food, right? You know how they pray before you eat? Even before you get to the Thanksgiving dinner, if people are coming to your home, fill that home up with love and light. Do that. Trust me, you will see a difference. But also, like, if you find yourself in a situation where it is stressful, try to focus on what you can be grateful for in that moment. For example, This is the last example before we get ready to wrap up. But I also noticed this because we were talking about this in our family as well, is how, like, one of my grandmothers is, now that she's older, she's says things that's not typically like her, and she's a God-fearing and God-loving woman, but they're just saying that, sometimes she'll get frustrated. And a lot of that might be rooted in her forgetting something or being confused. Her response is more frustration, and it's shocking because it's like, but you never speak like this, And I've saw this with my maternal grandmother, and I'm very close. She has passed, but very close to my maternal grandmother. And I remember that she would talk crazy. And now that she's gone, it's easier, a little bit to be like, yo, she was, sorry, something was in my eye, but now it's easier to say she was tough. Like, she talked crazy, and that might have been difficult for people to kick it with. But now, with her being gone, hindsight being 2020, it's easy for me to say, I would be grateful to even just have her, And so I say that even with any relationships that are difficult, when you have somebody that is no longer there, it's easier to kind of have that thought process and say, well, let me just be grateful that at least you're here. And so I find that I have much more patience with my granny and understanding than I would with my grandmother. Because I had patience with her, but I would get frustrated when she would talk crazy. I'd be like, ugh, I love you. And I know, especially when she was passing with cancer, I know you're just angry, and it's difficult at that time. But I do know that you still would be grateful to have that time together. So as you get ready for your Friendsgiving, we all, have some of those friends that you side eye and you're like, if we didn't have these years of friendship, I may not still be your friend. And if that's your reality, so the 2-step process, filling up with God's love and light, feeling that love in your heart, pushing it outside of your heart. If you praying, as you're praying, feeling yourself fill up with that love and light. Feel that and push that, emit that from your heart. And in the moment, when you feel it coming on, you're like, ooh, I'm going to have to practice gratitude in this moment. Find something to be grateful for and focus on that. And focus on that. All right, now, so that wraps up the show. So as it being Thanksgiving, I will see you the following week. No, I always say, I'll see you next week. I'll see you the following week. I hope that you have a blessed, beautiful, bountiful, peaceful Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving. And I hope that you have an incredible weekend. And I will see you the following week. Not next week,